Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. Today's lesson, guys, will be looking at Kevin Eastman and Tom Lott's IDW TMNT 2011, Volume 11, Attack on Technodrome. And yeah, if you watched the last video, then Volume 10 was pretty crazy, and everything that happened in that volume was basically leading into the events of Volume 11. And yeah, this is going to be a pretty crazy volume with a lot of stuff going on, and it's going to lead us into like the next set of events that are going to be going on, I'm guessing, for the next few volumes. So yeah, it should be a really cool video, and it's going to be a very interesting story. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's story. Let's go. Real quick, guys, if you want to help me get more videos out faster, you can donate to the channel at the Cash App down below. This helps me treat these videos more like a job and will help the channel and videos to grow and come out more often. I appreciate anyone who donates or doesn't donate, and don't feel like you have to be a fan of the channel. You can still show your support by liking and commenting on the video, and with that out of the way, hope you enjoyed the video. So this story basically starts off with us seeing the technodrome for the first time being like almost completed, and the technodrome basically is activated, giving a little bit of a test run, and it's revealed to us that it's already going to be ready to go to basically terraform the entire Earth, and basically cause all human life to basically perish on the planet. Now we jump and we see that Orokusaki basically talks to Donatello wearing, well, not wearing, but controlling the Mecha Turtle, and they're basically having a discussion. And Donatello basically tells them that they need to join forces to basically take down Crane, because Crane's going to take out all life on the planet. This will include the Foot Clan and the Shredder himself. So they are going to have to work together, and the Shredder basically needs time to basically think about this, team up with him and the Turtles, because they kind of like hate each other. But he does understand that the threat that Krang is giving to the world, and that everyone might die on the planet if he's not stopped, is going to need them to basically work together. So we have that basically going on. Donatello basically has the Mecha Turtle basically start heading back to base, and he basically realizes that there's no turning back, from this decision that he's making, that they're gonna have to go through with it and working with the Shredder to basically take down Crane. Now we get to see the rest of the turtles are basically working with Old Hob and the mutants that he has working with them, and trying to work on their strategies as a team to basically be able to fight as a team in a straight up unit. And it's a really cool action piece. We also get to see that Old Hob is working with the Turtles and Splinter, and they're kind of becoming more of a team for this mission. But Splinter basically has the Turtles basically come with them because they need to have a discussion talking about what they're going to do with the upcoming battle. And Raphael basically tells Old Hob and the rest to basically stay away, that they need to talk as a family, by themselves. So that was pretty interesting. It shows that Raphael and Old Hob still are not getting along, and Old Hob and his people aren't considered, their family, even though they're working together. So I thought that was interesting. We get to see that Casey and April basically are coming to the conclusion that they're gonna have to do some stuff to basically try to help the turtles in another way that doesn't involve combat. And I thought that was interesting, and we'll see where April goes later on in the volume. But yeah, so we get to see that Donatello basically tries out Harold's teleporter device, and it actually works. And he was able to go, I guess, to Paris and find out that it was raining in Paris. And he's very excited about this, because now it seems like they can go into the next part of their plan, which is taking the fight to Crane. And he even gives Harold like this little souvenir of the Eiffel Tower, so I thought that was pretty interesting. This little gold souvenir that he gives to Harold. We get to see that Karai basically talks to the Shredder, and she asks him if he thinks working with the Turtles is a smart idea. But Shredder basically tells her that he thinks about all these things, and he has a type of insurance put into place if something were to go wrong. And we get to see that Krang is basically very excited to be able to bring back Ultron, or yeah, I think it's called like Ultra Minion. And he's basically going to call Earth New Ultra Minion, which is pretty interesting. And he basically is telling his father that he would be proud, because his father basically almost doomed their entire race, but Krang is basically going to make a new utopia basically out of Earth for his people. So I thought that was really interesting for his character. It makes him more of a developed villain in this run of the Turtles. So I thought that was interesting. Now, we get to see that the Turtles basically tell Odahab that they will not be going to the battle with them, at least not in the way that they're expecting. And they basically make their leave, and Splinter basically lets Odahab know that he's going to be there on the battlefront with him to basically take the fight to the foot. Now, back on Burnell Islands, we get to see that Professor Honeycutt basically gets attacked by Krang in a way because he's basically letting Krang know that there's an attack coming from Shredder and that he needs to get ready for this and kind of like postpone his technodrome attack basically in terraforming the Earth, because if Shredder shows up, he could possibly foil their plans basically. So Krang basically sends Stockman and Professor Honeycutt to a prison cell after Stockman basically tells Krang that he needs Professor Honeycutt. He even tries to get Krang to let him have some sanctuary on the planet, to make an area where he won't get wiped out along with the human race, and even gives him information about some stuff he knew about what Professor Honeycutt was doing with the Turtles and trying to stage like a rebellion against him and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. So that's going on. We get to see that Donatello basically gets in contact with his brothers, and they basically are going to go through the portal to basically take the fight to Crane, which is really interesting. And Donatello basically looks at them and says that he loves them, because he kind of knows exactly what is about to happen. And even Harold says, why didn't he tell the Turtles about, the rest of the plan? And it's revealed to us that the Foot have arrived, because they're actually going to use the same teleportation device that the Turtles just used, and Donatello is indeed working with the Foot and the Shredder. And the Shredder basically tells Leonardo that he has set a plan in place, that he's going to leave Bebop and Rocksteady with him, and that if he does betray them, betray the Shredder and the Foot, that he's going to give the order for Bebop and Rocksteady to basically kill Donatello. So that was a really interesting plot point. And we basically go into what April's doing. April goes to meet a man that was, I guess, a key part in one of the mini micro series one shots. And I haven't read any of them, so I don't really know about this character, but apparently he had a run-in with the Turtles and April and Casey in his one shot, wherever he's from. And it seems like now he's trying to repent and basically help the Turtles and redeem himself for helping the Foot basically, because now he's seeing how bad the Foot actually are and they're getting. And yeah, so that's interesting. It looks like April's gonna have to figure out a way to use this guy and for them to work together basically to try to do something to take down the Foot clan. So I thought that was cool. Now we get to see that Donatello basically, his plan is shown to us by Splinter as he's telling Odahab about everything that went on and why the Turtles didn't go with them to attack the Foot. And this is really interesting because we get to see that Splinter was not let in on the plan that Donatello was doing and trying to work with the Foot. And it's revealed to us that Donatello's plan isn't really to work with the Foot, but to have the Foot and Shredder basically fight against Krang, for both of them to destroy each other, at least weaken each other enough for them to be able to take out Krang and Shredder and their gains, basically their armies. And Shredder basically catches on to this as the battle begins between him and Krang. It's an amazing battle. Real quick before we go into that, I do want to mention that Splinter basically realizes that he's been pushing his kids to basically try to fight this grudge match he has against the Shredder, and he's been letting it cloud his judgment, and kind of understands at this point, after we got to this point, that Donatello does have a point, that the entire world being at stake is more important than a grudge match. And I really did enjoy that they put that moment in there. It just shows that Splinter, even though he's older and wiser, he does have these moments where he could get clouded in his judgment. And just like everyone else, we all have flaws. I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, so we jump into what's happening right now, and Krang is in a battle against the Shredder, and their armies basically attack each other. And it's a really awesome action piece. And we get to see that Koya, and I think his name was Bludgeon, basically go and attack the generals of Krang, basically. and it's really cool. A fight breaks out between Krang and the Shredder. Yet again, this is their second match, so they're coming to blows. And Crane basically cuts off one of Shredder's swords, and it just shows the strength difference between the characters. But Shredder's very resourceful and a very talented tactician and hand-to-hand fighter. They was able to figure out a way to get like an axe and basically almost kill Crane by attacking his main source where his brain is actually at instead of attacking the metal body. But I guess it was like some type of like unbreakable glass that protected Crane. They're getting like one shotted and killed. And eventually Crane gains the upper hand. He tells Shredder that he was basically betrayed by whoever was helping him, and that he was able to get the information from Professor Honeycutt basically. And this is where Shredder basically comes to the realization that Donatello basically set him up to basically get killed against Crane and his army. For them to basically fight each other to the death and basically try to take each other out. Jumping into what Stockman and what Professor Honeycutt are doing, Stockman comes up with a plan to get out of his jail cell after Professor Honeycutt basically tries to use this shape-shifting ability or like illusion thing that he has, like hologram thing, to basically make himself look like a human again. And Stockman takes the opportunity when the guards come in to check on Professor Honeycutt and Wise Guy's in here and electrocutes everyone in the room except himself. And yeah, and while that's going on, we get to see the old Hob basically comes with Splinter and the rest of his crew, and they basically come to fight against the Foot, Hun, and Karai. So that's really cool. And the fight between Karai and all of them was really cool. She almost kills Gektomondo, but Splinter basically stops her, and they get into a confrontation with them basically being around equal in skill, which I really did enjoy, considering that Splinter doesn't train as much as he used to probably. But Karai is literally training all the time, and she's very young compared to Splinter. So I thought that was interesting that they didn't just have her getting like one shot in that. She is a very talented fighter, being Shredder's second in command basically. Or I believe she's second in command in his army. But we also get to see that they're basically having their fight against the Foot, and they get a thing of mutagen, I guess is what they were coming here for, Old Hob and his crew, and they basically make an escape for it as Splinter continues to fight against Karai. And yeah, while that's going on, the Turtles basically confront Dr. Stockman, and Dr. Stockman uses these like fly slash like Mauser licking monsters to basically attack the Turtles. They're basically called flyboards. And while that's going on, there's a lot of stuff happening in this volume. It's like a whole set of events happening at once, which is really interesting as you're reading through it. Because I'm telling the story without going through each page, we just were kind of skipping around. Like I say, I usually recommend you go check out the volumes for yourself so you can get the full story and full context. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff, so if it's jumping around to different things, that's the reason why. But we jump into Krang and Shredder's fight, and Shredder is not going down. He even claims that if he's gonna die, he's gonna die on his feet, standing, which I thought was really cool scene. We get to hear from one of the generals or someone that's working in Crane's laboratory or something, or his main base, that they're telling him that Stockman basically escaped and that he's in the control room. So Crane has to leave the battle before killing Shredder, which I'm not sure if he actually would have been able to kill Shredder. Shredder has survived a lot of things. But yeah, so I guess we won't know unless they have another confrontation. We get a full-on conclusion to their fight, as both times their fight hasn't been able to have a conclusion. Crane basically shows up in one-shots. He just smacks Baxter out of the way, and he basically tells them that he's surprised that he would try using something like malware to basically try to take over his technodrome. And Crane basically fires the technodrome, and this starts causing the island itself. I don't think it's affected other places other than the island. To basically their oxygen and the atmosphere and everything about it is basically being made to be like a new Ultraminion, I think is what it's called. His planet, his home planet. And basically human life cannot live there. The air is like toxic or something like that. So the humans are gonna die that are on anything that uses oxygen is gonna die in that moment. And in that moment, once they start realizing what's happening, Shredder and his mutant army, and the Foot, Shredder basically tells Bebop and Rocksteady to basically kill Donatello, and we have Donatello basically being surprised that it actually finally came through the order because his plan failed, and Shredder did not get killed before he could give the order, and Crane and Shredder did not kill each other off. So yeah, Donatello's basically in a pretty bad position, and Harold's surprised too, because he's gonna have to watch Donatello basically get killed. So we get to see that Stockman has a great plan, and that he uses his flyboards to basically break the glass of the laboratory and gets himself out of there before the entire planet can be terraformed. I guess in a way Stockman's pretty smart in that he knew the turtles would find a way to beat Crane, but he had to get out of there that way they wouldn't be able to like capture him, put him in jail afterwards. And Professor Honeycutt basically explains to the turtles that they need to buy him some time to basically so that he can stop the technodrome from terraforming the entire Earth. So Krang and the turtles get into a battle, and the battle is really cool. You know, a lot of cool action scenes. While they're having this climactic battle against Crane, we're also seeing Donatello fight against Bebop and Rocksteady, and Donatello takes tons of hits. He basically fights the best he can against these two superpowered mutants, that are way above his level, way above him in strength, maybe even in speed. It's debatable, but with just one hit from Bebop, or no, I think it's Rothsay. Rothsay hits him with one hit with his hammer, and he basically just like completely destroys Donatello. He can't even speak right. And Bebop almost kills Donatello with a straight punch to the face, but Harold takes control of the Mechatroll and basically tries to buy Donatello some time to basically escape, but Rothsay basically throws his hammer and it just attacks it hits the Mecha Turtle and basically just one shots it. And Donatello basically makes a run for it, but gets attacked by Bebop and Rocksteady again, using different items that are around the room. And he even gets hit by the computer keyboard like so hard that the keyboard like splits in half, which was a really cool panel. And he's basically taking a beating, but eventually Rocksteady just completely starts like dismantling the Mecha Turtle and taking off its arm. And while Bebop is basically holding Donatello down, Rocksteady gets his hammer and basically slams it down and breaks Donatello's shell. We don't see it on panel, we see it like a shadow with like a red background saying crack. But we know exactly what happens because of what's implied. And yeah, it's implied that Donatello basically gets killed by Bebop and Rocksteady, which is like pretty brutal. Something you don't expect to see in a Ninja Turtles comic, especially if you're a person that watches like the cartoon series and that. You wouldn't expect something like that to happen. So I thought that was a really dark theme, and we'll get back to that as that's the way that volume ends. But we'll get to that at the end. So going back into the fight, Crane basically is fighting against Leonardo, Raphael, and Michelangelo, and they're doing a good job fighting against him. Eventually, they have to work together and basically land some massive blows on his robot body, his exosuit, I guess you could say. And while they're having that fight, landing those finishing blows on Crane, you see that Splinter basically tries to talk to Karai to get her to stop fighting him, because he doesn't want to kill her the same way that he wants to kill Shredder. He doesn't blame her for being a descendant of Shredder, being the granddaughter of the Shredder. And she basically starts questioning, if maybe Splinter is right, and she uses a smoke bomb to basically get her and her people out of there, it seems. And Ayla Pets and Angel basically had arrived to try to like help, Splinter out, but he didn't really need the help because he felt like the fight was over, and indeed was over because Karai basically made escape for it. And we'll see if her allegiance basically leaves and goes to the turtle side once we get to the end of this run. But yeah, that's gonna be pretty interesting. So we get to see that the island, Burno Island, is basically getting terraformed, and it's becoming harder to breathe for the mutants. And Shredder, being a human, must be even way harder for him. So it's almost like guaranteed that everyone that's not from Ultra Minion is basically gonna die on this island. And right whenever Bludgeon and Koya think they fly, Koya flies away and Bludgeon goes into the sea. They basically believe that the Shredder basically is dead. They leave him there because they think he's dead. Bastard Stockman basically grabs him with one of his flyboards. He has one of his flyboards grab Shredder and bring him on his boat. He basically says that, Shredder questions who's the person that saved him. Bastard Stockman says, depending on how the battle goes, probably will be a new business partner or something, or a new partner. And I thought that was really cool, and it looks like they're going to be working together. And it's something you don't really see, especially like someone that grew up with the 2003 series. You don't really see Bastard Stockman in that kind of way. Even in the Mirage series, he doesn't seem like the type that would be like the one to save Shredder. So I thought that was really cool, and we'll see how that develops into future volumes. Going back into the fight, they basically land the final blows on Crane and are able to put him down for good, basically using team attacks and basically landing just massive blow after massive blow until finally Crane goes down. And Professor Honeycutt is able to shut down the Technodrome, and everything but Burno Island seems to have been saved. And Crane is basically defeated. Now, Professor Honeycutt basically sends the turtles back to, I guess, their place where they were at, through the teleports where Donatello is located. So that's really cool. And Professor Honeycutt basically has a discussion with Crane, basically tells him that he was able to create a paradise for his people on Burno Island. So his people will actually have a place on Earth, but they won't have their leader because Professor Honeycutt's going to take him to the people. If you remember, I think it was Volume 5, or yeah, I think it was Volume 5, which was the Crane War, that he was at war with another race of people or something. And those people that he was trying to kidnap the king and queen of, and even try to kidnap their princess as well, basically is being sent to them to basically be sentenced and basically, I guess, put in jail or something like that. So I'm pretty sure Crane will come back in the future. But for right now, he will be in the hands of those people that he was actually trying to enslave and take over their planet. I don't know if he was trying to enslave them or kill them all off. I can't remember what happened in the Crane War, 100%. But I do know they were at war with each other, so this is pretty bad for Crane. But considering the type of villain he is, he's going to escape eventually. And I'm pretty sure he'll be here in a future volume of the story, probably near the end of this run. But yeah, going into the ending of this volume, we get to see that Angel and Alopets basically talk to Leonardo and Raphael as they come through the portal, as they're ready to, talk to their brother and see their brother again. And it's revealed to us that they basically say that they tried getting here in time, but they weren't able to get here in time, basically crying. And it's revealed to us that Donatello basically, supposedly, has died to Bebop and Rocksteady. And that's how the volume ends, with everyone basically mourning the death of Donatello. And yeah, it's a pretty dark way for the volume to end, but overall, really good volume. Had a lot of good action, and overall, the art was fantastic as well. And yeah, that was Kevin Eastman and Tom Watts, IDW TMNT 2011, Volume 11, Attack on Technodrome. That was a mouthful. But yeah, Volume 11, Attack on Technodrome was very solid. I had a lot of fun reading this volume. I thought the action was fantastic. The action has always been good in this series, but we don't really get full-on, drawn-out battles. But the battle against Crane was really good. Be it if it was the Turtles versus Crane or even Shredder versus Crane. I thought they did a really good job on his character, making him feel threatening. And I am excited to see him come back in the future, as well as to what the relationship between Bastard Stockman and Shredder is going to be like, and what they're planning on doing in the future. What's their future plans? And will we see stuff like the Mousers be major players in the final story arcs or final volumes of this run? It should be amazing. And the Technodrome, I felt, could have been more used in the volume, but considering the role that it was playing and that it was trying to terraform the entire Earth, I do understand why it wasn't part of the entire volume. But we'll see if it ever comes back in the future. But overall, really good, solid volume. Had good action. Dialogue was good. The artwork was solid. Sometimes in these volumes, I don't really like certain artists that cover this series. But that's always a personal preference. That's not really something that we can be objective over. But I will say for this volume, the art was definitely very consistent. I really liked it. Whoever was doing the artwork, fantastic. And they drew the action scenes great, they drew the characters great, had great facial expressions, able to give that emotion out, especially for the death of Donatello. That whole sequence, be it the fight itself against Bebop and Rocksteady, and the actual death reveal at the very end with those final 2 pages, very well done, very well drawn. And yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I upload the TMNT videos every Saturday. We're trying to cover the entire IDW run. We're on volume 11 now. There's, I believe, 23 volumes. And then we'll be going into the TMNT Reborn if we do continue doing this. But we are planning on covering volumes 1 all the way to volume 23. We're already almost halfway there, or, kind of like halfway there, to an extent. So yeah, and we're just gonna continue putting these out until we complete it, and then we'll be jumping to something else, probably turtle related, for Saturdays. But we'll see when we get there. But that's gonna be all. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next turtle video on next Saturday. But until the next video, guys, God bless you, and until the next lesson, keep on reading those comments.